Okay, so I'm going to show how you can do natural light, but like I said in the first video, you are limited to your time of day, when you can do it, the weather out. So you're kind of at, you're at the control of the weather gods. So I'm set up in my living room right here, which is actually a great spot to do photograph natural light. I have a giant double window with shears on the front. The shears actually help because it kind of diffuses and softens the light. And then I had the back patio window there as well. I had to push my couch out of the way. So in case you're confused what's going on, the back patio window is out there, and I have shears on that as well. So I have two, if you look at all the lighting things, I have two light sources. Both are from each side, so they are cross lighting my picture. Unfortunately, my cell phone has been dropped so many times that my camera lenses are not super great in here, but this gives you an idea of how I would photograph. I'm going to let my daughter switch over and let her hold it. So I'm going to tell you the settings, because I do use the manual settings on my camera. Let me put a card in here so it'll actually take pictures. So, all right, I set my camera to auto white balance. Come on up here. And I'm actually going to do this so you can see everything from the back. I'm going to do live view. Well, maybe not. Let's see, I don't hate using live view. All right, so there's a couple of things that you need to know. If I let the camera make, there we go, the decisions for me, usually the pictures aren't as good. So I kind of have to think for the camera. I do not set it on full auto. I could sit here and turn it to auto and focus here and take a picture. And for the most part, it's okay. But I will tell you, the color is off. If you look at between, info. So my color is off compared to what the wall is. So the color on here is much darker than the wall. It's also severely underexposed. So that's also going to throw your colors off. So I kind of have to think a little bit smarter than my camera to make the best out of it. It's also really, really slow shutter speed. So in reality, there's going to be a lot of shutter shake, or camera shake. So your camera, because you just can't hold the camera still that well at 1/40th of a second. Typically, you're going to want to keep your shutter higher than 1/160th to hold it and make sure you've got a good, clean, crisp picture. So knowing that, I am going to set it on manual, and since I am indoors, I need to increase my ISO. ISO is going to say I'm kind of in a dark situation. If you're inside, you're probably going to shoot at an ISO of anywhere from ISO 800 all the way up to 1600. So I'm going to go ahead and change my ISO actually up to, what is this, not 1600. So there you go, ISO 1600. I also am going to want a f-stop, and so that kind of controls your diaphragm inside your lens. The smaller the number, the bigger that diaphragm is open, but less of your picture is going to be in focus. So when you get portraits done by your local photographer, you know, you get that beautiful separation of the background. When you do fashion stuff like this, you don't want a separation in the sense of like a blurry background. You want to make sure your clothes are sharp and crisp from the front to the very back. so that all the detail is there. So I'm going to switch my ISO, my f-stop to, I'm going to take it down to 8. 8 should be good. And I'm going to leave my shutter speed at 160. So my f-stop on the lens is at an 8. And you're pulling it, you got to pull it back, honey, so we can focus. You're too close. There. F-stop's at 8 and my shutter speed is at 1/60th. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my picture and take a picture and then see what I need to readjust. Okay, so obviously I'm not letting enough light in. So there's a couple of things that we can do. First, I am going to move my f-stop down, make that number smaller. This is why I like having the flash and the lights and not doing natural light. So I'm going to move it down to 4.5. Most of that close should be in focus. I'm also going to drop my shutter speed down to 1/25th of a second, and I'm going to increase my ISO back up to 2500 and see how that looks, because it looked like it was about 2 stops underexposed. Yep, and there we go. Much better picture, still slightly underexposed, but it would be doable. My white balance is a lot better in this one than the first one. This is a little bit truer to what my wall looks like than this one. I know you're probably like, it looks like the same thing. But I've been doing this long enough that I can just tell that it's slightly better. So if I was to take my picture, now that I have my settings straight, go ahead and focus. I've got my beep going, so I know it's in focus. And then go forward, take another close-up picture, but that's just personally how I like to do it. So that is how I would handle natural light, a little bit further away from the wall. Sorry, my pool guy's here. Further away from the wall, we've got 2 light sources coming in from both sides to light the product. And I would use my manual to get my settings straight. And I can, if anyone has any questions about that, I can explain that to them in further depth at another time. And so that's it. That's how I would set up for natural lighting. 2 light sources. Set your camera to read off your light sources and go from there. So you can hit stop, Grace.